What's up, guys? Another performance review today. The subject for this one is the flagship for this year's Nike signature series, the Nike Lebron 11. LeBron's 11th signature shoe, of course. Definitely a highly anticipated model. As usual, packed full of technology, full of shoe technology. You know, a lot of stuff going on. As usual, price is really high. These retail at $200. But it's a luxury shoe. So we'll get right into it, and I'll let you know how these things play. Because at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, is it worth the extra money to spend on this shoe? With the benefits that this shoe brings to the table, for me personally, I feel like it's a yes. But here, I'll just outline everything here for you. Starting with the traction. I was kind of skeptical. The traction didn't really look all that great to me. Honestly, what it reminds me of, you see, of course I can't see it. It reminds me of the traction on the Jordan 2012s, which I didn't play in those, but I did hear it was pretty good. And honestly, the traction on these wasn't bad. On a pretty, semi-dusty court, these aren't going to give you like that really nice squeak sound, but they're going to do the job. I didn't have any slipping or any slippage issues or anything like that, so that's good. It does the job. Now, one thing you'll notice, you've got what's called a decoupled sole, meaning that the heel and the forefoot are completely separate. You've got a TPU shank here that kind of separates it. Normally what this is going to do is going to allow for a better range of motion. LeBron shoes are notoriously stiff, just because he's a big guy. They're built for him typically. Now with this model, there's been some controversy with him not wearing the shoe due to some toe box issues. I don't know if you can tell. If you look at the shoe from a profile perspective, the toe box is fairly low. I did have to go up half a size in these to play in these comfortably. I could wear a 10.5 in these, but I went up to a size 11 just because I had a pair of 10.5s. I ended up getting rid of them just because, my toes were my toes were falling asleep. You'll hear me talk about that a lot. Fit on these in terms of toe box range, you might want to go up half a size if you're a wide foot person. Just also because of the materials on this shoe. Excuse me. Of course, a lot of the shoe is made up of, and there is some area in the toe, it's made up of what's called hyperposit. Now, it's a lighter weight, thinner version of Nike's foamposite material. What it does is it actually molds to your foot shape with when you apply heat and or moisture to it over time. It doesn't do it automatically. Excuse me. Sorry, I was talking for that other interview or the other review, and it kind of grabbed my mouth out. But moving on to the cushion of the shoe, to me, the cushion on these is the highlight. Just like last year's the LeBron 10s, the cushion is the highlight of the shoe. If you look inside the shoe, there's nothing in there, and you can see the little window. Reason for that is that these shoes use a modular insole system, meaning that the insole is the midsole of the shoe. You notice outside the shoe, you've got outsole, and then it goes straight into the upper. There's no foam or anything like that here. It's what's called a double-lasted midsole. So, meaning that the insole or the midsole is internal. It's inside the shoe. You can't see it. Now, the difference with these, you can take it out. So here's what the insole looks like. Now here's the cool thing. This insole is made out of nothing but Lunarlon. It's full-length Lunarlon. And this is the cool thing about these. For the first time ever, Lunarlon, a full-length Lunarlon insole with full-length bottom-loaded Zoom Air. I'm a big fan of Zoom Air. This was like when I first heard that these were coming out and that this was the cushion setup. I felt like a hallelujah moment came on. I felt like it was like finally, it was sounded like a great combination of cushioning. I couldn't wait to try them out. Anytime you get full length Zoom Air, um, there's not a lot of shoes that have this anymore. Zoom Air, I don't know why it's like they don't put in a lot of shoes full length anymore. It's probably just because maybe it's expensive to make, cut down on cost, weight, whatever. The Foamposites use these, the full length Zoom Air, but I mean most people don't play in those. They wear them for looking good with their skinny jeans or whatever kind of crap you like to do. It's whatever. It's a basketball shoe. I like to play basketball in them. Full length Zoom Air is awesome. This is the probably the most balanced cushioning setup I've ever played in. A lot of good impact absorption. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. There's a lot of compression lines in this Lunarlon midsole. It's doing its job. It's a really lightweight. It's really light. So that's kind of a good thing. LeBron shoes are typically heavy. This cuts down the weight. Also gives you the great responsiveness that Zoom Air does. Now this is a bottom-loaded Zoom Air unit. Of course, bottom-loaded meaning you can see it from the bottom. And what that does is, since it's not directly underfoot, you've got a layer of foam between your foot and the Zoom Air unit. So what that does is it keeps your feet from mushing into the Zoom bag too much, and it still gives you a nice bounce back when you put force onto the shoe or onto the cushioning system. So it gives you a good response without having a delay, without having to feel like you're mushing into a shoe or you're sinking into it, which will delay your response time if you're playing. And a lot of people don't realize that. It makes a difference. Also, if you're what happens, or at least what's experienced with me when I've had that kind of thing happen, is if I'm mushing into a shoe, this cushioning is really broken down and setting up. It really kind of puts a strain on your joints because they're having to work even harder to push or make a movement or whatever. So that's a benefit of that. Cushioning is awesome. I mean, full length Zoom Air. I don't know if anybody's ever seen this stuff before. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you're missing out. This stuff is great. Awesome cushioning. Moving on to the upper of the shoe, the fit and support and whatnot. Lots of support. These are built for LeBron, supposedly. But so you've got basically just complete synthetics. You've got some hyperfuse up here. Gives you ventilation in the areas you need it. Ventilation's not like super awesome because honestly, for all the red on here is all the hyperposit, and it needs heat and moisture to mold to your foot to give you a nice customized fit essentially. So you don't want a lot of ventilation in a shoe that has these materials. For what the materials are, the setup is perfect. They're really strong. Foamposite's built like a tank. These things are the bottoms will rot and fall off before the upper does. So that's a plus. The fit is really good. There's lots of good support. The lockdown was good. Of course, also you've got the dynamic flywire, which you can see some of the strands going down in the shoe there, and a little window here. These little lace well, not that one, but these little lace loops here. They're dynamic flywire, so it does offer a really advanced amount of lockdown. So you've got that. Trying to think of anything else. There is a full length sleeve on the inside. Sorry for the sock lint or whatever, but you can see the full length sleeve that goes down in there. Tongue's really nice and padded. I always think it's cool when they make a nice padded tongue because honestly, I hate the little cheap thin tongues that a lot of shoes have these days. I grew up in the '90s, so I'm used to having like a thick, now I can tie my shoes real tight and I don't have to worry about, pinching my feet and whatnot. These did a really good job of basically providing pretty much everything that you look for in a luxury basketball shoe. The only bad thing is they're not super flex. I mean, they're not super. Of course, I don't have the midsole in right now. In these, they're more flexible than most of LeBron's shoes. They're not going to be super flexible, But it's enough to where a lighter weight guy. I honestly, feel like my shoes that are best for me are shoes that are built for bigger players, just because they tend to have more cushioning. That's a big thing for me. So if you want top-notch cushion with, I mean, honestly, and plus you can't. I don't think right now these remind me of the Flightposite ones that came out, which are one of my all-time favorite shoes. These just look like a badass transformer stealth bomber with all the angles. It's a cool ass looking shoe. That's all there is to it. So that, I mean, that does play into it. Performance wise, it doesn't matter, but to me, if I'm gonna drop $200 on a pair of shoes, I want them to look good. I want them to play good. I want them to last. I don't think these are gonna have any issues with durability. The materials are sturdy. They look good. They're cool. I mean, it's just, it's one of those things where, great shoe. I know LeBron's not wearing them right now. I mean, he's got feet issues. I don't know if you've ever seen pictures of LeBron's feet. They look like somebody hit his feet with a hammer. I don't know what happened to his feet, but his toes are jacked up. So maybe that was what plays into it. But for normal people, these are like the Lamborghini of the shoe world in terms of just being an overall good performing shoe at a decent price, or a decently high price shoe with good performance. You're not going to pay money for these and feel like you got cheated, which is a good thing. It's a lot of money. I understand that. But in terms of just being, top notch, these are good. If I had to give these a score, I'd give these a 9.5 out of 10. The only thing keeping them from being almost a perfect 10 or a highest rated or the top notch of the heap, traction could have been a little bit better. Like if you were to put the Hyperdunk 2013's traction on these, wow. I mean, that's all there is to it. The shoe would be unstoppable. I mean, the traction pattern on this shoe would be amazing. But if you make a perfect shoe, how are you going to improve upon that? You got to make people want to buy this shoe and that shoe and this. It's like with cars. They could make something that runs for 50 years, but who's going to do that? Because there's no money in that. So it is what it is. Nike LeBron 11, awesome shoe. It's expensive, very controversial this year. Lots of tech. Get a pair and play them. They're fun. Till next time, guys, have fun.